Welcome to Rat Girls Podcast. I'm Abigail Jensen, and today we are joined by Kenneth Play, the author of Beyond Satisfied, called the world's greatest sex hacker by GQ, and a sex educator focused on female pleasure and teaching guys the best sex techniques. That's a what's it called?
Yeah.
A tongue twister.
Yep.
Sex techniques in the world. Kenneth, thank you for being here.
I'm so excited to be here today.
I'm so excited. How did you get into this? Like, how did you find out it was something you were good at?
No, it's quite the opposite. I was so deeply sexually insecure most of my life. And one fun backstory is when I moved to the US from Hong Kong when I was 11, the first porn I ever saw was like a hardcore American porn.
Yeah.
I was like, and they all have gigantic penises. And then I'm like looking at my own package and go like, shit, this is what like manhood and sexual preference look like, and I'm none of that. So that was most of my self-image for most of my early adulthood.
Yeah.
And then from that, I found the sex positive community, so from sex parties to just a different culture with sex education, and it totally changed my life in a very significant way.
Cool.
And here I am today. So it's such an unlikely story. Yeah.
I love it. I love like when like you never know where porn can take you. like where like watching a porn, like it can either give you ideas or it can like inspire a career, which is amazing. It's so funny that we see these like giant cocks in porn and associate that with the way to pleasure women or like our manlyhood.
Yeah, it's like, looking at the world in the lens of an NBA player, only the tallest humans, and the game is based on height.
Right.
Not fit. So it really, and I also don't blame porn. Our visual system, what arouses us, like we like it dramatic.
Totally.
Right? So what is better for the camera might not be better for someone's like experience or pleasure.
Yeah, or that's like me reading my romantasy books that are like so dramatic and they're life or death. And I'm like, yeah, sex is hot when it's life or death. But in real life, I want it to be very comfortable. I don't want any risk involved. That's cool though that I like that your website, you talked about how like you have to learn to be a good lover. Like no one's born that way.
I think we all born hungry, but not everyone knows how to cook. And it's two different skills.
That's great.
And even if you know what you like to eat, you don't necessarily know how to cook it yourself or tell someone to cook it. So it's all different sets of skills. So, but coming from a fitness background, I was a personal trainer running a personal training program for 15 years before I had this job.
Oh, cool.
So I was like, I could not imagine sex does not work like fitness where there's the art and science of it.
Totally.
So I went on this rabbit hole trying to solve that problem, thinking that I'm going to compensate for something that I think I was lacking. And then what I actually discovered is complete opposite.
Yeah.
It became something that I could apply a growth mindset towards and then also develop competency. It's not like, now, that doesn't mean that some women do not like a gigantic cock, right?
Oh, yeah.
People could have size preference, but not everybody, and bigger is not always better. And there's a hyper focus on penetrative sex, which doesn't work for many women. I listened to some of your other podcasts that you just had, Lori Mintz.
Oh, yeah.
Which she contributed a little bit to my book as well.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah. And we know that is not the most reliable thing to satisfy women.
But it's the thing we see most.
Or hyper-emphasize,
Yeah, which is why I love that your workshops are like showing people like there are other ways. Like one of your best performing videos ever was on squirting.
Yeah.
And so like before we get into our other main she's like tell me a bit about one, how it felt when that like everyone like resonated with it so much when that video went like mega viral on YouTube. But
it's like 50 million now. It's crazy.
But what did people resonate with from it?
It actually started on Pornhub because I was such a nerd, and coming from the fitness industry, like I love reading the science and learn how to apply it. Like what they study in the laboratory, and then they apply those techniques to like world-class athlete, and then they trickle down to the fitness industry. that whole process. Like, what
That's
if we do
cool.
that? What if we do that for sex?
What's a world-class
Yeah.
sex athlete look like?
Yeah, and how do they train themselves to be a certain way? So then squirting kind of came into like a sexual phenomenon that like, is it a myth? Is it true? Like, is it pee? Do people enjoy it? Because there were so many questions, it was a fun rabbit hole to kind of unravel all the information. And then, but ironically, where I actually learned the right technique was going to sex parties. There's always like one guy that know how to do it, and people always like line up and like they try it. And that reminds me, I forgot her name. There was this animal researcher that Jane Owell.
Jane Goodall?
Yeah. So Jane, and instead, like her colleague, just study chimpanzee in a lab, she just went to live with them.
Right.
So I got a very rare opportunity being involved with the sex party community, both like reading the science and see in the real habitat what actual people do.
Cool. You're Jane Goodall with the little hat, like in the binoculars.
So I would go up to different people and ask like, how did you do that? What did it work?
Whoa.
Because similar to fitness, you kind of go like how come you exercise this way, or what is your program like? So I collected all the best different technique from a bunch of people, and then fine tune it till it becomes like so reliable, everyone can learn it and figure out all the little like detail and mechanism.
I love that.
So I think is very different from learning how to do it myself and having the ability to teach someone else how to do it. And then that advice video is showing me doing a demo and then teaching the rest of the class do it live.
Whoa.
So I teach it like a Peloton class.
I love it. It's like there's a theme. It's like we're listening to Hamilton today.
Yeah, so that was really fun, yeah.
That's amazing. I meant to touch on this with you. I'm a certified personal trainer too.
Yeah.
And it is the science aspect of sex. That's what interests me as well.
Yeah.
But man, I think the sex science is easier for me to like be excited and learn about than the personal training was. Like NASM was so hard for me. It's like another language. I don't know if you did the NASM. Oh my God.
Yeah, totally. Through Equinox, yeah.
Oh my God. I literally thought my brain I haven't used my brain that hard in such a long time. But two, like I was like, reading books, I had little flashcards. Oh my God, I'm glad our personal trainers have to go through it, but man, oh man, it's like very science heavy.
But sometimes people could have the book smart, but do not how to get their client to effectively apply to their training program or get people to adhere to the right science.
That's interesting.
So when I was in the fitness industry, what I taught besides the science was how do you get your client to do what works?
Like the practical side of things.
Why would they apply it, and how do you get them in a positive feedback loop that they actually would do, like they could see the relationship between this effort and reward. So that is more important than, like you could do a program that is like, let's just say 80% effective. You're not like at Olympian level, but this person could apply consistently. They will get way more result than you have the best program in the world that they barely follow. So
totally.
Yeah.
If the reward is squirting, what is the effort?
Well, squirting is one of those things that it could turn into a party trick, right? And a like sort of for male ego because they want to see a visual representation. Now, first of all, female ejaculation and squirting is two different things.
Okay.
And so squirting is more like what we see in porn, like a large explosion of fluid.
The splash zone.
Yeah, the splash zone. And female ejaculation could be like a teaspoon amount, very tiny, and they come from two different places. And also, the liquid that we could study varies because it's like a mixology making a drink, right? Like what was previously in the bladder.
Yeah.
So was that urine there before? Was it empty before sex? Did it get refilled rapidly? Because one of the hypotheses is that why the bladder wants to get engorged with water as well, or just be filled, is that increased internal pressure, and pressure creates, when everything is swelling up, right, and engorged, it gives more pleasure. Also, it could be a potential protective mechanism for, we teach people to urinate after sex because it prevents UTI. Right. So the flushing out effect could be beneficial to not letting bacteria goes in.
Yeah.
So it really and also not every female body has the female prostate, the spleen gland, and the urethral sponge. All those things could produce a female kind of ejaculate, kind of like pre-cum.
Okay.
But we don't know if it serves any purposes or just to lubricate for things to go in and out easier or like to flush out bacteria. So that's inconclusive. But what we see in porn is more for like the camera and the show.
Right.
And what people associate with the splashing is like 50-50. Sometimes it's an orgasm. And I even ran my own study with someone studying like, how do people feel about it?
Yeah.
Does it feel good? Does it feel bad? Does it need like internal stimulation or G-spot stimulation to happen, or is it all external? And it's so split. So there's no like universal answer, like this is definitive that way. However, I think the most fascinating thing for me when I was teaching it is if someone is having truly involuntary, like strong contraction in their pelvic floor when they're not inhibiting, they're not putting the brakes on. You have Emily on.
Yeah.
I guess. So the brakes and the gas analogy. So if you are not inhibited at all, you just let your body do what it wants to do.
Yeah.
And you're stimulating the right amount of contraction and pressure is happening, then squirting kind of happen involuntarily.
Cool.
But that's more pleasurable when it's that way.
But as opposed to like trying to coax it.
Yeah, because one very powerful story that I learned from a model that I was working with doing a demo, and we were just practicing before a big class.
Yeah.
And squirting is not her thing. It's just like, I'm really worried, but like I love, I want to do it. So we were rehearsing. And then when I start stimulating a G-spot in a certain way, she's like I just see people clinch and I'm go like, oh, like, does it feel uncomfortable? Blah, blah, blah. And go like, okay, so when you feel this sensation, instead of your involuntarily doing this, I want you to try to push my finger out instead of, because it's the opposite response. So I love that you have personal training. Like when you have flexion, right, you have relaxation.
Yeah.
So when you're bearing down, actually relax the pelvic floor where you want it to relax.
Right.
And she's like, that is so counterintuitive because you don't think like that.
Totally.
So after some coaching, and then I tried this technique on her, and then she squirted everywhere, and she cried instantly afterward. And I was holding her, and she was like sobbing like for a while.
Yeah.
Like gut wrenching, like fetus position. And I was just holding her, go like, just let all your emotion out. It's totally okay. And I just like waited for her. And when she finally come to, she's like, I never thought about that, why I did that clinchy thing. And she was sharing that when she was really young, she used to masturbate, but young women usually don't masturbate to penetrate themselves. They just touch themselves externally for virginity reason or whatever.
Yeah.
And she said, the first time I had sex, and I remember being penetrated, it kind of felt good, but I kind of felt like I had to pee. And then I didn't want to pee on my partner. So I learned from that experience to always do this kind of thing when I feel that sensation.
Yeah.
And I know I do it subconsciously. It actually doesn't feel very good. Whenever I feel that sensation, I get embarrassed and I feel shame.
Oh.
And she was crying so hard because it's the first time she just let it go and like let her body feel what it wants to feel.
Yeah.
And it just like, it's like tears and like all the emotion, and it's letting her body and trusting her body and what it's doing is good and it's pleasurable. So that was like really mind blowing.
Oh my God,
I don't have one, so I would never understand. Yeah.
But that's amazing. Like shame, she didn't even realize she was holding on to, because that's so specific. You think of like religious shame, more broader things, but like the shame of just like not letting your body feel.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and like that was such a profound lesson for me as a guy, because I don't have the equipment. I could never relate, but I could see why this involuntary like reaction happens so often.
Totally. And it's like, it is funny. I feel like when I do feel like I need to pee, I'm like, okay, we're breathing through it. Like that's what's going to help me now instead of the clenching. And yeah, it does feel counterintuitive because it's like, you're like, oh, this is so much sensation at once. But then when you like breathe and start slowing down, it's like when the good stuff starts happening.
Yeah. Like Emily's book, right? Pleasure is sensation in context, right? So the sensation is neutral. It's just a sensation. It's the context we put on it. So if we associate that with shame or discomfort or embarrassment, doesn't feel good. So now a lot of times I'm just coaching people, when you feel the sensation, it means good. Then the reinterpretation makes it good. So
yeah. I love that. The more we can have people associating their pleasure with the good, the better. Because it's great. it is crazy how much like gets in the way of it in our lives. And you're here to, our main cheese of the week, you're here to help us help women like teach their men how to make them come. Because I think something that does get in the way of our lives is just like a lack of communication and a lack of knowledge on both sides.
Well, there's a lot of different challenges when it comes to like, first of all, I would imagine, and I'm not like mansplaining female pleasure.
No, I
but
love.
But I would assume a lot of women will not find it a turn on to teach their man how to fuck them. Like from a psychological arousal, like dark romance, they usually don't have that chapter.
I was just talking with Lori Mintz on the podcast. I was talking about how, like, you know, you fall in love with a 500-year-old high fae, like the man who like automatically teaches you or automatically knows the best parts of your body. And that is a big fantasy.
Yes. And I saw a meme recently, like, when a guy asks a woman, like, what do you want to eat tonight? No, I want you to pick for me and I want to like it.
Yeah, you lead the way. I want to be the passenger princess.
So that create a dynamic that where men are expected to know what to do without education. And if they don't have any education, they try to mimic porn. So it creates a feedback loop that doesn't work.
Totally.
But then I went down on this rabbit hole rat's hole now, on like, how do we solve this problem then?
Yeah.
Then I was thinking, how do people learn what they like in bed? And it is like some is through discovery of observation. So it could be like watching porn, reading erotica, like you just noticing. Because if I ask you what you like to eat, most of the time it's because you taste it, right?
Yeah.
So it's a discovery process. And then the second problem is if you taste it, you don't necessarily know how to make it or tell someone to make it for you. So it's like this loop.
Right.
So I was like, how do I solve this problem? Like, there must be a better way. So first, with all the sex technique, I collected the best sex technique that I could possibly find from like science, tantra, like shibari from Japan, vibrator from the Victorian era. There's so many good stuff out there. And there's a lot of new research, like, you know, a large enough representative sample size to go like, most women prefer this over that, right? So those techniques become sort of like recipe to try.
Gotcha.
And you have to kind of taste it to know.
Yeah, it's a menu.
Yeah, it's a menu. So one way that I do it is that a lot of couples watch my course and I am the instructor and they both following. Oh, cool. So they do it like a play lab. They could try a bunch of flavor and see what they like.
Yeah.
And eroticism, when people get psychological arousal, it's sort of like comedy. Either it's funny to you or it's not.
Interesting.
So you kind of have to go through a trial error process. So I'm really excited to continue to work on my book and my course to give people more of a tasting menu to try with each other. And it's like a swipe right or left.
Yeah.
I like this. And then you start to build a collection of things you like.
Yeah, I love that.
Unfortunately, most people kind of have sex the same way they've been doing it since high school or college. Totally. And never really like they have one go-to move or whatever, and they go like, "Oh, she really liked that." So it's like using your ex-girlfriend's map to navigate your new girlfriend's neighborhood.
Who has different nerve-ending layouts down there. Yeah. Also, just a different person.
Yeah. So, and another way that I have found that is useful for couples to try is that like erotica, I've been thinking a lot about erotic fantasy and how the mind gets turned on. If you're in, when I was learning about erotica, there's such a large body of work, such a high consumption, like so much nerddom about it, you know?
Totally.
And there's so many fans, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But if you find like, okay, in this erotica, this scene really turns me on, send it to your partner and tell them what was hot about it.
I love that idea.
And then they could start deconstructing, like, at least psychologically, what is a turn on. And then sensation is actually easier because the trial error process is not random. So when I'm teaching guys, like, how do you figure out someone that you never had sex before, that moment, what they like and don't like? And so I basically just use research. Like, here's the most popular genre. And I just go down that list.
Smut, basically.
Of spot that technique that is the most reliable one. Go down and I read the erotic cue. If it's a yes, I keep. So like I remember where I park my car kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you really need to discover like at least 3 go-to. And that is a great lover. Like you don't need 100.
Yeah.
So if you could find the right, like you could find what really turns her on between her ears, like one context.
Yeah.
And you find one sensation, and then you create an environment that's safe enough for both of you to fully focus and experience that experience.
Yeah.
Then magic happen.
Wow. And so when you have the like 3 sensations up your sleeve, ready to go, then when you're in the bedroom testing the different ones out, are you getting feedback from your partner then to see like which one they enjoy the most?
Well, feedback is an interesting one, right? So there's 2 parts. What kind of erotic cue can you actually read from your partner? So there's verbal and nonverbal, right? Verbal is easier. So let's start with nonverbal. Like breath, sound, and movement is really easy from the Tantric community. So is she breathing in a certain way? Is she making certain sound? Is her body responding to it?
Yeah.
And this is confusing to me and very confusing to a lot of guys. In the beginning, you are looking for like consistency. For some of my lover, when they're about to come, they are quiet for 30 seconds and not moving.
Yeah.
So you have to watch the stages.
Totally.
Like, what does this mean at this moment?
Yeah.
And it's like sort of like ordering an Uber when the car is not moving, you're losing your shit. So you have to learn what it means when the car is moving, like towards you. And everybody is slightly different.
Yeah.
And sometimes you go like, when you start to feel really good, what do you normally do? Are you like quiet, or you move a lot, or you scream really loud? So you pick up those cues. And verbal communication is quite difficult because when you're trying to describe what you like to your partner, that act of thinking about it might take you out of your experience, right?
Interesting. Like if you're describing it in the moment.
Yeah. So I recommend to the couples I coach that they create a play lab where the intention for those moments is to do the trial and error. You're not trying to mix this, like I'm having sex right now with the trying.
Yeah.
So you have a test kitchen, right? You got to test out recipe. Separate time, and you don't have to finish. You don't have to go from like testing to playing. In fact, that I recommend doing like a lab, build up the knowledge and intention, then go have dinner, then go fuck again.
That's great.
It's much easier that way.
And I love probably the vulnerability and trust that builds.
Yeah.
Like if you're willing to just try something together and know it's not going to be perfect and it's going to be a test basically, then you're going to feel more connected to your partner.
It makes it so much safer for both parties because we're creating an environment when your feedback is welcome, right? Your feedback is not a rejection, but an invitation to upgrade.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And also how you say it. I mean, there's many studies about like verbal cues. Like as a personal trainer, how do you cue your client to do this exercise when they're like afraid, they've never done it before?
Right.
So you have to praise them in a certain way and you have to give cue. So it's not too necessarily like you have to stroke the guy's ego. But when you say things, ow, not like that, it's nothing they could do with their information.
Yeah.
So you go like a little higher, a little lower, slow it down. Things that like, or positive feedback is so important because one of my, if the listeners are listening to this whole podcast, if you just remember this one, when things are going well, don't change a fucking thing.
Yes.
So if your partner have no other verbal feedback, but just when it starts to feel really good, say just like that, or that's the spot.
Don't stop.
Don't stop. Whatever you were doing at that time, just remember that thing, and that will be a go-to most of the time.
And don't switch it up in that moment.
Yeah. And don't think because this is working, when she's getting more excited, you should do something different. Just keep doing that until the grand finale, and don't listen to your dick clock in your head that you know that she finished. Just let her push your hand away or push you away.
Yeah.
Don't predict when she finished or not. Just keep going until she's done.
Totally. And so when you're in these test kitchens, so you would recommend everyone's bringing a different context and sensation to the test kitchen?
No, sometimes it's physical and sometimes it's psychological. So let's just say if I'm teaching, and I broke down my course and my book like into different chapters, like anal or squirting, and you're trying one technique at a time. So that's why the videos are like 3 to 10 minute max.
Yeah.
Because you cannot apply that many cue. Imagine you being a personal trainer, you're trying to teach an entire program to your client in
At
one session.
Yeah.
So you really could teach maybe 3 exercises.
Got
And
it.
like even within each exercise, maybe they will remember 1 to 3 cues.
Okay.
So you have to kind of break it up based on how a brain actually learn.
Yeah.
But it sounds crazy, but I would imagine for most guys to be absolutely the top 0.1% of lover is an investment of 1 college course worth of effort.
Gotcha.
Because most people don't know.
No, totally.
And they don't know how to adjust, and they don't have an extensive menu.
Yeah.
But it's really not that hard. It's
So
not
just put
rocket
in
science.
a little bit of work.
A little bit of work, and one of the most like underappreciated thing about being a really good lover, if you're really good, women loves to fuck. I'm not lying. If you're really good, if you build it, they will come. So
If you build it, they will come. If the pleasure's there, they will come. Like, because I'm not going to crave sex that's not pleasurable or not desirable.
Yeah. And most women have a tendency that they find something really good, they want to keep it. So you want to go with that natural drive. Yeah.
Totally. I love the idea of all the different ways to discover new sensations. And we're talking about doing this for women and what they're into and like the erotic books and all that stuff. Is there anything, if you were like a woman who wanted to help your like husband or male partners discover new things?
I think one of the ways is learn that, well, don't communicating during sex. I really don't recommend it because it's such a context shift, right?
Interesting.
I recommend talking when you're not doing sex stuff. Like you're having dinner or actually
outside the bedroom.
Breakfast is a good, like breakfast or lunch is a better time. I think it's like less
pressure?
Yeah, less pressure. Brunch. Excellent time to talk about sex, right?
Have a mimosa.
Yeah, lazy Sunday, you know, let's chat. And then approach it with the idea of curiosity. Hey, I've been really curious about doing this thing. Like, I've been really curious about being tied up. I've been really curious about giving you a hand job in the shower.
Yeah.
Like, give a little bit of what I'm interested in receiving and what I'm interested in giving. So it creates a dialogue between people, like sharing about their desire.
Right.
And I would really like to explore with you. At the same time, you go like, acknowledge that it's vulnerable and scary to talk about what we want and don't want.
Oh, and even say, like, I love when I preface what I'm about to say with how I'm feeling about it. Like, I'm a little nervous to bring this up, but like, I've been interested in giving you a hand job in the shower lately. And then your partner's like less likely to respond in a bad way if you share that you're nervous about it.
Yeah. And shower hand jobs are great. You got soap, you got water, you got the whole thing.
It's just another way to clean, honestly.
Yeah. You get the cleaning, the whole thing. Yeah.
So, like, if women are looking for, like, how to bring this up to their partners, do they start by being like, check out this course? How?
A lot of my students use it that way because it's much easier. Hey, would you like to watch this, learn this with me? Is it better than I like? Or hey, would you learn this by yourself? Like whatever way you want to do it. Because I really want to have more sex with you is a great invitation. So it's not like you suck in bed, but I'm curious to try more.
Yeah.
Right. And the truth is, we shit on and beat up on guys all the time, but at the same time, a lot of women don't know what they want or how to describe what they want. So I think both parties needs more exposure and discovery, but also have educator like ourselves to figure out what works and what does, like to go through less trial and error because there's already studies out there.
Yeah. I love the idea of being like, it's not because you suck in bed. Like, I love like being like, because you don't want anyone to feel that's why you're taking the course, even if it is the truth sometimes, but it could be the truth because of both people, but not knowing what they want. But I love just being like, I just want to try and explore more. And like, I don't know, I read my fantasy books and this sounds good in them. I want to like add more to my menu.
Another really good way to fish for more positive like feedback loop is just say if your boyfriend randomly grab your hair one time when it's fucking you from behind. So you start with a compliment like, last time when you grabbed my hair fucking me, that was so hot. And that got me more curious about what it's like to be dominated. So it's like a connection, what he already did.
Yeah.
And to say, yes, please, I want more.
That's great.
Rather than you don't do that. And,
Right,
you know,
totally.
yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is sometimes with my husband and with like, sometimes you have to catch yourself because it is easy to like communicate that way. It's less for me with the bedroom stuff and more with like, why aren't the dishes done? And it's like, remember when you did the dishes last time? That was awesome.
But we're like like our brain is still Stone Age, Stone Age emotions, right? So how this program gets programmed is we like positive reinforcement.
Yes.
And something you don't want it to do, that's when you want to create pain, right? So you want to use pleasure and pain the way it's designed. So if you want more pleasure, you want this person to be motivated to do something. Because if they are approaching a situation, try to do something, and then what they associate in pain, think about from a sexuality context. When you are in anxiety, are you a better lover or worse lover? So you want to make sure that both party is not in this perform anxiety mode, right? So here's where we want the least amount of anxiety and we want the maximum excitement and relaxation. So we have to work with that, and giving someone, this might be a hot take on this.
I'm
Sometimes it's not necessarily lying, but you give people credit that they didn't even do yet. It doesn't really matter.
All the same result.
Yeah, all the same, they're more likely to do it.
Interesting. So I should like approach my husband like about the dishes in a way that gets him excited and he feels positive.
Imagine I'm hearing like your husband hearing like, I feel so loved and so cared for when I walk into the kitchen and you did the dishes and I don't have another thing to think about after a difficult day. I love you.
So
he's like,
he's like, oh, hell yeah.
And men love to be appreciated for shit like that, right? So it works with our system. So I think it's just being a smart communicator with tactics that actually work.
Yeah. No, that's really great. Yeah, it is amazing how like communicating for sex or trying new things in sex, all of this can apply to different aspects in our lives as well.
Yeah. And negative feedback is for people crossing boundaries. So like, I told you I didn't like that. You kept doing that. That's not acceptable. That's when that tone needs to be. So I'm not saying always praising.
Yeah.
But put it at the right direction or right intention.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And so what are some of the like menu items that you tell people to try?
I teach a lot about foreplay, fingering technique, oral penetration, anal penetration, or anal sex in general, kink, squirting. And once you learn here's a bunch of sex acts that typically what people like to do. And then the part that I really like is also teaching emotional, like erotic imagination and sexual fantasy, like the dark romance bit.
Yeah.
There's actually a structure to how dark romance is written. Cool. Like the scene is always, why are we here? Like you have to give a plot, like why this person in, can I tell you a fun story?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. I don't want to run your podcast too long. No, this is excellent. This is a crazy story I had like 2 days ago, okay? So when I was 16 in high school, remember that kid watching the gangbang porn, super insecure. And my girlfriend at the time who I was dating, I refused to let her touch my cock. I remember one time I just like ran out the room because I was like so frightened.
Wow.
And I haven't seen her. It has been a quarter of a century, 25 years. And I met up with her 2 days ago.
Oh my God.
And I never had sex with her. And she is someone that this first girl I ever went down on.
Yeah.
Like first boob I ever touched. So, and like from that kid. And she's the only one who will remember me that way because I've been this version of myself for a little bit. And connecting with her. And I asked her for permission to like write about it and share our experience a little bit. So bring it back to the erotica bit. One of my fantasy with her is I was a swim team manager at that time.
Okay.
So I'm always like following the girls because I'm such a pervert too. That was the perfect job for me. I remember one of my fantasy is I always want to like be invited to the girls' locker room.
Yeah.
And like take a shower and like do naughty things in the shower. So I go like, so I told her a little bit about that and go like, I would love to like take in the shower. So that was the setup of, I didn't do it immediately.
Right.
I just put that seed in her head.
Yeah.
Now there is a reason why that is turned on, and it's from a place of wanting.
Gotcha.
So I took her into the shower, and then when the water is like dripping on our body, and I want the audience to notice like you don't want to use word that's hyperclinical. Right?
Okay.
You want to how erotica is written. There's a lot of
no. There's like they touch the bundle of nerves.
Building up tension. So I was like kissing her, pushing her against the shower, letting the water drip on her body, and washing her very sensually, like tracing every curve of her body that I find desirable and wanted.
Yeah.
And then, so from a very sensual experience to a little bit more assertiveness and tension. So like building of tension.
Yeah, tension's so important.
So you want to build the tension, then I dry her off really gently. So there is like safety and care.
Oh, that's great.
And then I picked her up and threw her in the bed. So it's all about like, so if you learn, like erotica is always written in those things. And so if you could see eroticism through a female lens, and it is crazy what you girls write to each, like, you think Pornhub, like hardcore porn is naughty?
The sick
No,
freaks.
right there. So I
girlies
do encourage guys to like listen to more erotica to understand females' fantasy.
Totally.
So creating that whole experience, but once you learn how every story is written with the same tension, it has to have some obstacle, right, that you're trying to overcome. So you could kind of like create the right plot line.
Yeah.
So if you could turn her on between her ears, the rest is so easy.
I love that because I feel like the obstacle in so many of these romantasy books is like the guy can't control himself, but he everywhere else he's completely in control. So to see like how you did it with the like very sensual first, but then it's like losing control at the end, like that's a very like romantasy trope, I feel.
Yeah, but once you know, it's not that many. It's like the same plot line written in different ways. So like, so it's really fun to learn. And what was really beautiful about the ability to create psychological arousal, because when the mind is turned on, most touch feels good.
Because of the context.
Yeah. And for God's sake, with modern technology, just hold a vibrator on her clit. With the right context, penetration feels really good to her at that time. Many, not every woman, but most women. And that is such an easy win for everybody.
Totally. We love a man who's like, let's bring out the vibrator.
Yeah. It's a labor-saving device. You don't want to use your hand to rub so consistently while you're trying to, like, it's like trying to do one of these things. I'm trying to focus on my,
That's why the doctors invented the vibrators, because the women, they like, their hands were cramping up when they were treating them for hysteria. Like,
and ask her to hold it. It's even better because she would know where her button is, just the way she likes it. But you could say sexy thing and go like, I want you to hold it just right. Feel good for me. So add a little context.
So you're involved too. You're like controlling the movements she has. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm still hoping this might actually exist, but I'm like, my dream is a vibrator that like just balances by itself, or like, like hands-free vibrators.
They do. They sell like it's like a mic arm.
Whoa.
That just kind of keep it in place. The other one is like a little underwear strap.
Like a belt?
Yeah, like an underwear strap. Not very effective.
Yeah.
But the Kingster with the gooseneck arm has a little tension, so it pushes it back. That is more effective.
I need to. Okay, so this Grace and Frankie is like one of my favorite shows, and one of the inventions they had on the show was like for older women whose hands were cramping. Like they tried to properly invent hands-free vibrators.
Yeah.
So I hope they know about this.
AI robot will come soon.
Yeah. Oh my god, that scares me. That's its whole own thing.
That's a whole new episode.
Yeah. It's like an episode on like how to fight the AI when they become sentient. Well, I feel like you have shared so many amazing things, and I'm very excited for people to like check out your course and just I'm very thankful that you are like in the business of like a man helping men know this, like, and helping them treat like pleasure their partners.
I'm so surprised that like Instagram is actually 50-50. My audience 50% female.
Wow.
And I've always been written on that lens
Yeah.
because, and the retreat that I'm about to do is called Back to the Body. I was very fortunate to be trained by my mentor, Pamela Messon. So like I have so much time between like play party, sex research to hands-on, working with clients. So it's always written, go like, it's the understanding of your partner.
Yeah.
But guys, if you're listening, again, this is so useful because you don't regret being amazing in bed.
No one has ever regretted
no
that.
one said that, oh God, I'm just too good. They don't say that. The only problem you might have is that you might be overbooked.
Oh, booked and busy though. We love it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really great. And you say your mentor, and I learned about you from having your mentee Hannah.
No, she's a colleague. She's a
colleague.
Yeah.
She was calling you her
from
mentor.
Yeah.
I just love every new person I talk to in this community introduces me to another great person. And I'm like, what a cool community to be a part of where everyone's just like supportive because they're inherently curious.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for Hannah sharing my work to her audience because, once their partner get their libido or interest in sex back, the sex still have to be good. Like if you get your appetite back, but your food still suck, negative reinforcement.
Yeah.
And guys, really is not that hard to, I think the bigger challenge, right? If you could get the right fantasy or the right psychological arousal, right sensation, and you're able to pay attention, I think the paying attention bit lately is actually more challenging for people.
Because of like TikTok, or our attention spans are just all over the place?
Yes, and also the idea of actually using, the thing that we could do with our brain is to point the spotlight of focus to something, and most people not realizing what they're focusing on in the moment.
Yeah.
So they might be focusing, go like, shit, did I press record on the podcast, like on the button while in the middle of sex? Or like different things would flow in. So learning how to control that spotlight. That's why the Tantric community is so amazing, because a lot of their technique is focusing on being present with your experience.
And I'm so bad at that. I try the Calm app, I try the Headspace. It's the ADHD in me is strong, and I am fighting it.
Do you want me to share one tip on what
I would love.
If your husband, and this is a very useful skill, if you learn how to be a director and basically just verbally help you focus by telling you what to focus on. So think of a Peloton, a class. The person is like, you're working out, but you're like listening to instruction, right?
Right.
So it's like pay attention, or counting actually help. Tell someone to breathe in and out.
Yeah.
Because it brings the moment in. And the King community is really good at creating focus. Imagine like being spanked. You got to pay attention immediately,
Totally.
right? So and it depends on what your personal preference on what arouses you. So communicating giving you very clear instruction that is simple, is nothing complex, that doesn't require any cognitive function.
Yeah.
Just a simple thing to follow, like 1, 2, 3, 5. Counting to, I skipped 4. My ADHD kick in. But if it's a simple instruction that you could follow.
Yeah.
One tantric technique is called the big draw, and different school have used different technique. But basically, you finding the right sensation that feels good to you, and you gotta do 30 deep breath. So inhale, exhale.
Yeah.
Right? And every time you're really trying to breathe in fully, empty fully on the last breath. So that is about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, depending on how fast you inhale and exhale.
Right.
But that is the amount of time that actually gets your brain to the state of entrainment.
Whoa.
And you're also hyperoxygenating your blood, so it helps. And then on the last breath, you take the biggest breath of your life, and then you hold it, and do not exhale till you almost wanted to die or might pass out. Little death, right? That builds up enough sympathetic arousal. So orgasm happens when you go from like you building of tension and release of tension, right? So you building tension till the balloon is about to pop.
Gotcha.
And if he's using any sensation he's giving you, let's just use a vibrator because it's easier to just say, let's say penetration with vibrator and using the Hitachi. So on there's 4 level 4 is the highest.
Yeah.
You do 1 or 2, you do 1 for the first 10 breath and you get it in, you keep it at 1 all the way to the last breath.
Gotcha.
When you're holding your breath and then you turn it up to 4.
Yeah.
So that certain increase brings you in, like the king getting a spank.
Right.
It makes you pay attention. You're holding your breath and you're feeling a lot of sensation with a lot of focus because you cannot focus with breath. You have to focus. And when you actually breathe out, most of the time the trigger is a massive orgasm.
Wow. When you breathe out with it on the 4, do you also rip the vibrator away?
No, you hold it.
You keep it there? Okay.
So you're on the 29th breath, right? And on the 30th inhale, you're taking the biggest breath of your life. You are also hyper focused because there's so much focusing for the dirty breath.
Yeah.
And 30 is a long time, so sometimes you could cut it to 10 depending on the person. But 30 is like a lot. Like it just gives you enough one way to get to lift. Right. And on the 30th breath, you inhale and you want to exhale. Okay. But you're holding your breath.
It and you have the vibe on 4.
Now on 4 now. All of a sudden on that breath from 1 to 4. So you're like feeling this intensity, your desire to exhale, you might die. So you focus and it's hot, it's telling you to hold it. Yeah. If that turns you on, don't you dare. And then you're like, yeah. And when you can't do it anymore, you let go, then that would trigger your sympathetic. So it's switching from parasympathetic to sympathetic. So flight or flight needs to kick in for orgasm. Okay. So it totally kicks you in flight or flight because it is this how your nervous system works. So I don't know how the Tantric community like back in the day figure all this out.
They were running some experiments with each other.
But it lines up psychological sensation, right, and focus. Yeah. So that's the if you get the triple threat correctly, it works.
The parasympathetic nervous, the fight or flight is so interesting to me. I've never heard that our is related to fight or flight.
Yeah, it's the switching. So some people who have a hard time switching, like they're too stoic, it's really hard for them to get it is a very primal response, right? It's nothing supposed to be like gentle about sex. Like when you coming, it's like a primal scream. Yeah. And if you don't let yourself access that flight or flight response, but sometimes people actually need more rest and digest. They need to be able to relax in order to get arousal. So in the beginning of foreplay, it's actually getting the body to be relaxed enough so you get aroused. And but arousal needs the flight or flight to come. Yeah. And if you go down this rat hole for nerdom, the other part is entrainment. So it's rhythm. So there's a rhythm in our brain that we need to tap into this rhythm, like this consistency in order for us to have an orgasm. So the counting I described creates a rhythm that is predictable. That's why I said when you find the thing, don't change it because you want to keep the beat. Yeah. Right? You want to keep the beat. But you're keeping the beat while building tension, and then you look for the release.
And does having music in the background help that too for people?
Well, you could think of it when you're a really good lover. You basically get like a DJ on stage. Yeah. You're you want them to anticipate the beat drop, and you have people lose their shit. Yeah. Right. So, but what I love about sex science is that once you understand the art and science of it, it's really you have so much godlike control over it. Yeah, that you didn't realize that is there.
I love it. I mean, I feel like my mind is blown talking to you, and I'm excited to go down my own rat hole now and just look into sex science because I feel like I talked about the clit so much and the female pleasure so much, but I haven't thought about the parasympathetic nervous system. There's just so much there. You could research it forever. So I'm just really excited for this intro into everything.
And this technique for everything, there's relaxation technique. So for example, the gravity blanket, any weighted blanket, that science of something waiting on you. So when you hug someone, hold it, or if you're laying, let's just say one grounding technique I really like is what a lot of retreat facilitator would do is get by everybody's intention, in the right. So you tell your partner, okay, let's forget about a day because it requires a transition from our everyday life into this ritual space. That's a theme the retreat I'm about to participate in.
Oh, great.
So you want to transition from your everyday life. So you go like, let's leave our stuff outside the bedroom.
Yeah.
And then when you could lay on top of her, having pressure and breathe with her, like 5 deep breaths, that usually trigger the parasympathetic nervous system to kick in.
I love that.
And then arousal could come in. So it's just a little bit timing thing.
It's like your partner's your own personalized weighted blanket.
Yeah. And then give an instruction that you both have a mutual focus on. Right? Like, let's take 5 breaths together, make us do a task together that's synchronized. And we naturally do that anyway, but it's just more intentional. That's why I think sex technique is so important, because a lot of times that we tell people, like, you need to communicate, you need to relax, but if they don't know how to actually do it,
right?
Like the person could read all the exercise science, they still have to go there and what the hell do I do Monday and Wednesday?
Yeah.
So that's why I like laying it out that way.
I love the practical advice. Especially for me, some things are too cerebral for me. I'm like, I need to be able to grab it and see it, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like you're such a good explainer of things, and it's been so wonderful talking to you. Is there any lasting advice on this topic before we move into send it to the sewers?
I want to encourage more women, and this might be a hot take, but I feel there is this idea that men don't care about female pleasure, and I actually don't think it's true.
I don't think it's true either.
I think a lot of guys, not all, there's definitely assholes and psychopaths and narcissists out there that don't give a fuck. But for a majority of guys who care, and they care about their partner's enjoyment, they want their admiration, they want them to be satisfied. So if we approach each other with that level of kindness, that I see you as someone who cares about my pleasure and I care about yours too. I think then we could create a world we both want to share, live in. Yeah.
Totally. I'm constantly having to remind myself, men were also raised within the patriarchy. The reason they think big penises are important is because that's what they've seen and that's what they associate with good pleasure. But they do want to give you good pleasure. They've just seen the penetration way.
Yeah, and in their mind, ultimately, the drive is still their ego to satisfy you. So if you just see that they actually we get rewarded from your satisfaction.
Totally.
Many of us do. So encouraging them to come out in a way that actually work, I think that's good for everybody.
I think so too. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. I am really excited. This is such a fun, I feel very, I don't know, I feel like I'm putting my science hat on, I'm in school right now. I'm very excited to go look into everything further. I'm so pumped about it. You're just so, you know so much.
I'm so excited. I love to send you my book and my course and everything.
I would love. Yeah. Oh my God, that would be amazing. And I guess getting into Send It to the Sewers. This is the part of the podcast where we rant about something from the week. Would you like me to go first so you can see how it's done?
Yeah.
Okay, this is so specific and stupid. But I'm sitting in the series when you have a sweatpants and then the drawstring gets stuck in here. Do you ever get it where after you dry your sweatpants, you lose one of the drawstrings in the pants? I don't know how I'm meant to fix this. I've tried to pull it and it just...
There's a way.
What?
Tape their end to a chopstick.
This end to a chopstick?
And then
that's
run
sticking
it.
out?
Yeah, then run their pants through it, and then we'll come out on the other side. Then
So I put the chopstick all the way through my pants?
Yeah. So you tape it on. You pull it out.
Whoa.
You tape it on one end, then you just fish it to the other side.
This is
a little stick or a straw, but it just have to be hard. It doesn't have to be a chopstick.
Yeah.
But it's just a stick that you can move it.
Oh my God. Yeah. This happens to all of my pants. Yeah. And it comes to the point where I give up and I'm just I guess I have one drawstring now. Yeah. Or I try to pull it all the way through and have none.
Yeah, you just need little Scotch tape on the tip and then a hard object.
Well, Send It to the Sewers that I didn't learn this earlier. I feel like there's so much practical advice in my life that I don't know. And I'm wait, this would have been nice to be taught in school.
Yeah, right. Useful things. Oh, ranting. I'm ranting to myself. The optimizing part of my brain. I just been on the road, nonstop from going to the baby shower to traveling. I have booked back to back everything, nonstop meeting new people and everything. And I didn't realize that I should schedule some downtime or alone time in between for myself. So lesson learned. Yeah.
Well, when do you get to experience alone time again? When is it all come to an end?
not till this retreat is over.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the future, I think I would. I don't actually need much, but I didn't know how important it was. Just having like one day, like maybe even like ideally at least one day a week or at least like in 2 weeks.
Totally.
But nonstop does not work for me. And like it works in like this like planning. Oh, this is gonna be perfect.
Right.
But it's actually not. Yeah.
No, when I like take my Adderall medicine and like have caffeine, I'm like, ha ha ha, like look at all these things on my calendar. This is amazing. And then like when they all come, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, well, I appreciate you being here and adding this to your calendar, and I hope you're able to get rest.
Yeah. Thank you.
Because it is so important. Where can my listeners, my feral friends, find you?
You can find me at kennethplay.com, and then you can find me on Instagram. That's like my more popular channel, Kenneth_play. And everything from my book to my courses is on my website. And even if you decided not to buy anything, I have tons of free article, free tutorial on my website. And I really try to write the best free blogs and free instructional video like in the world. Like I'm a super nerd, and I hope you find those information. Like a lot of the stuff that I shared today, there's like step-by-step, play-by-play technique on my website for free. So go check it out.
I love that. Everyone go check out Kenneth. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.